I remember when my beautiful wife was on her way to the Spirit Road, and she was out, and I was waiting. It took her 10 days after that operation. I prayed and prayed with all my Catholic prayers, and I knew everyone over and over and over and over again. I said everyone, as many as I could, and it didn't work. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with it. Then I started hearing the elders, and they were talking about all kinds of ways of thinking and knowing through the language. And I was learning the alphabet, learning to read and write, and I was getting my mind decolonized through language, through knowing about who we are as a people of that challenge. How did we think before the boarding school? How did we think before all that? How did we talk to Creator before that? I wanted to know that. So I wanted to be able to do that. And sometimes when the elders spoke to me, I felt this great pressure here, shame that came on me. And I'd feel a little bit ashamed I didn't know my language when they spoke to me. And I'd kind of like shrug it off. I didn't want to be like that anymore. So I worked with those elders, and they were archiving what they thought was important of our language. And my father picked some of those 18 to be the ones that would become teachers in our school. And they worked in our school, began teaching our language. I hear them praying in the language. And it was different. And I remember being upset to the point where I cried because I couldn't speak to the Creator in my own mother tongue, Sanchasa. I was embarrassed. And I wanted that to change. I wanted to learn more about that. So those elders, they were laying down a great path for us to follow. I didn't know that. I was just living it and just being part of it, revival and survival of this Sanchasa language. I worked there for 28 years with this one particular elder, late Earl Claxton, who was my cousin, part of the mixed family, and the other elders. I saw them go one by one. My father was first. And my father went, and I'd been working on the language for a while, and they were talking about building a new school. I told Philip, I can't come back to work. It just upsets me to come to work. Because my father passed, and he was a big figurehead at the school. So I said, I want to take a leave. So I said, okay, take 1 year. So I was off, and I was away from it for a while, because it was upsetting me to work wrong language. I needed a break from the rest to be away from it. So, they started a new school project, building a new elementary school. So I went back and I applied to work over there. And I got on, and I was working with a good friend of mine, Rudy Henry. And we were packing lumber to these carpenters. I said, let's speed them up. Let's start running this lumber to these guys. We got to get out of this. You know, when you're building a foundation, it takes forever. It seems like it. Let's get out of this hole and get a floor on this thing. So we started competing with one another. It was fun. Enjoyed it. Ended up working on the pipes, putting all the pipes together underneath the school. I think I was 6 weeks under the school. One day Philip came there and he looked down the hole. Hey John, you down there? Yeah. Come out. He says, it's time for you to go back to work. Get out of there. You're going back teaching. You're going back to the school. Okay. All right. He says, come Monday with your your clothes to go back into the classroom. I was teaching little kids then in nursery and kindergarten, I think it was. So got back into that language again. Working at that for a while, Philip comes and he says to me and Earl, well, your job's going to change a little bit. Monday, you guys are going to build a cultural building for the students. Because Earl was a good carpenter, and I always worked with carpenters. So. Okay, he said, come on, I'll show you which trees you can go down. So you got a chainsaw, you know how to run a chainsaw, you know to fall trees, yep. So went up there, fallen trees on Monday, scraping the bark off. What a change. Anyway, that's how it used to be. That's how it used to be. We built the cultural building and Philip was happy. And we went on with it. While working there, I met a good friend, his name is Peter Brand. He was teaching our kids and he was teaching them how to, alternative class he had. So we taught them math and things different ways. And I remember one of the things they were doing was making wooden toys and things, but they had, all their math and everything was included in that. And they were selling these packs of toys to help the school program, which was, I thought, pretty smart. Then they had, when the new school was built, it had a computer room. It had these little Mac computers about that big in there. We were pretty top notch. We were right in there, right? Pretty happy to have these things. So. Then one day, a guy from the Apple people came and said, "You can show us how to run these digital cameras." And so we went out in Paris to go film around the yard. And there was a big plaque on the wall inside the school, or a big drawing, and it's a thunderbird like this. His hands up like this. On his chest there's a human face. There's a whale down there, a wolf, raven on that side. Anyways, I was talking about it, and I was talking about this as I was filming it. And we took it back into that room there, and where we were having a workshop. I played our part back, because everybody had to play their part back. We played mine back. But when they showed the picture of that human face, I was focused on, as I was speaking, the mouth of the human face was going like this to all my words. And I asked him, how did you do that? How did you do that to this picture? How did you do this to this film? He said, I don't understand how that happened. He said, he was blown away, the guy from Apple. And we were starting to use a computer to teach this in chocolate so the kids could learn how to type in our language. And so the Apple guy really became a good supporter of ours because of that little picture. He kind of got spooked by it. He was a nice guy, a real good guy, and helped us a lot. And so we were making presentations about what we were doing with the alphabet, teaching kids the alphabet. We were going out, myself and Peter Brand. And then the First People Cultural Language Council was, I think it was on the reserve in East Sandwich. And we thought that would be nice for our people to be able to use Sinchoftan on computers. And we saw that we went all these workshops we went to, people were going, they were recording, trying to help people on the different First Nations recording, archiving language. And so we said, wouldn't it be better if we had a better tool? Wouldn't it be better if we had a better tool, like an online tool? So we took the idea to First Peoples Cultural Language Council, and they accepted the idea and helped develop the firstvoices.com. which is a good thing, where people could archive language and the communities could have control of what was happening there. So under the leadership of Tracy Herbert, who started those days, accepted that and helped to develop that tool so people could archive their language. And it's always been, access was always a big problem within communities helping to revitalize language, because you get all the resources and they get stored somewhere and you can't get to them. We needed to make it accessible, and that's what happened with that tool. One day, Peter, he ended up working with them on First Voices, left our school, went on to help to rebuild, to make First Voices really available to a lot of the languages around the province of BC. One day he came to me and said, I have a letter for you to sign. He said, you're going to write a letter to the people that run Unicode, people that are the consortium on Unicode. You're going to ask if you can get your father's alphabet involved in that there, to be accepted as well. Okay, there was a meeting happening in Toronto. It was about 4 or 5 days later, and he called me. They accepted your dad's alphabet. Your dad's alphabet is now in the Unicode system. That was huge for us. Huge for us. So it's embedded in all things that have Unicode, right? So now our people, when they get a phone, they can text one another in the language. And we teach our children to text one another in the language. And we can give them projects to text in the language now. I remember I was teaching an evening course. And I was always looking for dollars to try and help us, because it always seemed like a struggle to get dollars. So I was here at the University of Victoria at a meeting, and I met this lady, Eva Tchaikovsky, from the linguistics division here. Told her that we need some money to do some things to help get the archiving done that we need done. She said, I'll come and meet with you. She came out to Santa, she met with me, and she says, I found a grant called the Community University Research Alliance grant, she said. We'll apply. So we applied for this money. And we got it. It was a 5-year project. So I was able to get those elders working for 5 years, archiving language, which is a great thing for us. And it was just in the nick of time, because a lot of those elders were leaving us. And I can never be grateful enough to the University of Victoria for the help that they gave us that way. Then my good friend Lorna Williams came along and became a part of the university here, and helped to get things moving in our direction, helping to get more things happening in language, and help to develop a Bachelor's of Ed program here, where our students could come and take it. And I was teaching, my part of that course was teaching language to our young teachers. We hired 7 young people in Saanich. We call it Sinchothan, means it's an apprenticeship program to teach young teachers, because there was just 3 of us left. It was myself, my sister Lindy, or Rosenia, and our co-worker Helen Jack. When Helen kept spreading, she's going to retire. So there was going to be 2 of us. So we were like, what are we going to do? The elders are dying off. What are we going to do? So we hired those apprentices. And we called it Sinchothan, because long ago the leadership of the community had his own building. He was the ward leader for the people. And on his entrance to his place, he had a ramp that goes up to his place. And when you walk on it, it gives a good effect. And underneath that ramp, there was a hollowed log here and a hollowed log there. And when you run, it goes boom, boom, goes like that, like a noise. And it's also tied with cedar roots, so it squeaks at the seam. And in his entrance, he had a oval door. So when you enter, you come up your ramp and you go in, and your head is down like this to go in his place. and he'll be waiting for you there. See who's coming in. That was a Stetson that I've done. And when the kids around there were happy and there was times of peace and joyful and everything, the kids would play on it. Boom, 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 squeak, squeak, squeak. Lots of you could hear them from a long ways away. It meant that it was a time of peace. And people are a time of peace. So we named our apprenticeship program Stetson for St. Alfred. And then we started rebuilding a bit of a core. And each one of those apprentices had to work with language mentors. And we were able to get dollars for First Peoples Cultural Language Council for apprenticeship programs to teach young people. And they were going to University of Victoria to become teachers. And they finished their 4-year program. And our elders were leaving still. And my good mentor, Later Coxon, left us as well around that time. And